Hey! You guys are probably wondering why I'm doing this. Why a video like this? Why are you reviewing something? Blah, blah, blah. No, I'm not, actually, in case you couldn't tell by the title. I just wanted to give a rundown on things that are going on with Oddcast, because there's some changes that are coming. So first and foremost, What an Oddcast, our main podcast, our main show. That'll continue being uploaded on this channel. There won't be any changes there. That'll still be every week, sometimes every other week. Just depends on what's going on with our lives. You know, everybody's got different things going on. But that'll remain consistent. Appreciate if you go over to Patreon, because for $1, you get everything early. We even have a 7-day free trial for $1. So, I mean, there's not really a reason to even not just go at least try it and check it out. There's a ton of content over there. Like, I have the rest of this month and part of next month that I'm working on videos that are going up next month. But they're all going up there very soon. So, like, you know, it's a good way to check everything early. So I appreciate you if you go over there and you check it out. We appreciate it. With that, we have a second channel that's coming live, which if you're not following us, you should, at OddcastN on Twitter or X, whatever the hell you call it. I don't really care what you call it. I just say Twitter because that's what I've always known it as. I just don't care. But with that, I had posted about there's going to be a second channel. So I had a YouTube channel years ago that was just always my personal shit. I've repurposed that. That'll be taking up our gaming stuff now. So anything I do gaming-wise will be going there. Right now I have Sly Cooper 3, and I'm also working on Maximo. I don't remember. There's 2 different Maximo games, and I can't quite remember which Maximo game it is that I have, but it's the one that I played a lot. I think it's Army of Zin. I could be wrong on that, but I have a playthrough for that I'm going to be putting up as well. And some other stuff too that I'm working on. Still got Tides of the Tasmanian Tiger 2, depending how the first one goes. Maybe I'll get to the second one. I'm also working on a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game comparison with a new game that had come out. What is that? Mutants Unleashed or whatever that just released. Because I have the original, well, not original, but I have the older Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game that came out on the PS2 that was based on the 2000s animated version. And I loved that game, and I have that one on my PS2, so I'm probably going to do a comparison because one of them is clearly a better playable game, and the other one just plays with things that typically haven't been played with, which is the mutant aspect of the Ninja Turtles enemies. But the other one is just a fun beat-em-up. So which one is which? We'll find out when I do that. I'm also working on a Mass Effect video because I've played through all 3 Mass Effect. I say 3. I know there's 4 before anyone comments, well, what about Andromeda? Andromeda can suck my whole fucking ass. All right? I'm sorry if there's somebody out there for whatever reason that Andromeda is your favorite Mass Effect. I'm sorry. It's a bad fucking game, and it will always be a bad game. But I plan on doing a little something with Mass Effect 1, 2, 3. Not really a playthrough or like, this game, you do this. No, it's more something that I've always thought when it came to Mass Effect. But I'll get into it when I get around to making that. But it'll essentially be about why having too many cooks in the kitchen it can be a very bad thing. Mass Effect is a great example of that. Playing 1, 2, 3. There's reasons. We'll get into it when I do that. But I wanted to make this and just say thank you all who have been listening. If you're sharing things out, we appreciate you. We hope you're going out and checking out the Patreon. But overall, we just appreciate you stopping in and watching the videos. Drop a like, a comment, a subscribe. We appreciate that. Go into the Patreon. We appreciate that. But yeah, stay odd, stay happy, and keep on the lookout because we'll have the second channel that comes up this month. I'm actually, after recording this week, I'm doing Sly Cooper 3 playthrough game. So I'm editing those up so I can have that channel start to go up the end of this month. And there will be some Jokey Pants Has Bad Taste. I'm still debating on that show may transfer over to the second channel just to be something that's uploading more consistently and give that its own space. But it could stay here. I don't know. That is yet to be determined. I don't know. I guess you let me know if I should separate Jokey Pants over there, because it's still going to be sharing a channel with something. It'll still be sharing with gaming, but I don't know. We'll find out. Maybe it'll just stay here. There will be a couple that end up over there because they're gaming. But anyway, stay odd, stay happy. Bye, everyone. Yay! Hi. How you guys doing? I would say welcome back to What an Oddcast, or back into Jokey Pants Has Bad Taste, but if I were to classify this as bad taste, I would be doing a disservice to myself and everyone else that I know respects the man that we're going to be talking about. In case you can't tell, it's Ozzy. Of course it's Ozzy. And I apologize that it's not exactly right. That's because my co-hosts for What an Oddcast on Refney and Maverick have all of my gear, because moving to Guam, I couldn't bring all of my stuff because I had to pack a suitcase and a book bag. So my green screen and everything is still there, which is sad because it would have really helped me to make this. But I'm just doing what I can with what I actually have available. So whatever. Shit on me if you want. I don't care. I really don't. This is not about you, and it's not about me. It's about one of the greatest legends to ever fucking live. And if you argue that, I might fist fight you. Like, I might come through this camera, through the screen, through your TV, your laptop, whatever you're watching on your phone, and beat the hell out of you, because you're not going to argue that this man is not one of the greatest living legends ever. I mean, at the time I'm recording this, Ozzy has officially retired. He retired this last weekend, the July 4th weekend, and it was an emotional time for a lot of us in the metal community, because Ozzy has been there from the start, from the very beginning, and now we're watching him leave, and it's sad because you don't want to see a legend like Ozzy say, this is it, no more music, no more albums, no more shows, this is it. Enjoy it, because this is my farewell to all of you. And it is emotional. And like, you saw it, like, and if you've seen anything that came out of that entire show, Ozzy got very emotional, and it's understandable. And we're going to talk about why it's understandable. And maybe if you're somebody who just doesn't understand why it's such a big deal, maybe you can understand better from what I'm going to talk about. So let's just start at the beginning. Good old Ozzy. He is British. He was born, like, that's why the last show took place in Birmingham. That's where he was born and raised. In 1948. All right? So let's wrap your head around that one. Ozzy was born shortly after World War II ended, and I've done a lot of reading, and I've done my own things back in high school. I used to do reports on metal bands, and I would drive my teachers nuts, because they'd be like, that's not a book. Like, that's not like a book. That's just an autobiography or whatever. And I was like, yeah, because these bands kick ass, so fuck you. So, actually, in fact, in 8th grade, I did an entire presentation about Slipknot. Actually, I've done a couple presentations on Slipknot. Now that I think about it, my middle school days were very much like, I would talk about the music I was into. So I did an entire like make your own like poster board shit, and I did it all about Slipknot, and then I also did one in 8th grade all about Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath. And then that's when I found out that my middle school principal, Mr. Siegel, doubt he'll ever see this, but if anyone who did go to Casadega High School and you remember Mr. Siegel, if there's any way you could show him that I appreciate that man for being the cool dude that he was, because when I did that project, I got directed to go talk to him by my teacher because I had no idea he was a diehard Ozzy Osbourne fan. And let me tell you, that was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had with a teacher, a principal, anything of that nature, is that my own middle school principal was a diehard Ozzy fan. So we got to talking about like what we liked about it. We liked Black Sabbath Ozzy. We liked Ozzy and his solo. And that gets me to some of the points I'll get into here. But just first and foremost, I wanted to get that out there. So Mr. Siegel, if you somehow see this, I appreciate you, because that was an awesome conversation I had in 8th grade. The time that Ozzy grew up in that 1948, you're going into the 50s there, it was a hard time for the world in general. In case you didn't go to history class, you're one of the people who thinks history's stupid. I won't get into things that are currently going on in the world, but so anyway, it was a hard time for the world, whether you were America or overseas in England and Europe, that whole area. Like, everyone was devastated by World War II. It was a bad fucking time. So at the time that Ozzy was growing up, he's talked about at length before that, like, those guys, like all the members of Black Sabbath, watched their parents work factory jobs where they, as the song puts by Black Sabbath, were killing themselves to live, which is where the song Killing Yourself to Live came from, which is a great Black Sabbath song. I'm going to mention a lot of songs here as I go, because like I fucking love the shit Ozzy has done. I truly do. Like, I am a diehard. I will listen to them anytime, anywhere. I don't care. But yeah, so he saw how his family was living. He saw the horrible conditions, and Ozzy growing up realized that wasn't the kind of life that he wanted. That wasn't something that made him happy. It wasn't something that he wanted to do. So Ozzy went the different direction, realizing that he had a creative spark that his parents didn't. And his parents supported him in, like, if this is what you want to do, then I guess, but I think you should. But there was also that backhand of like, but I think you should probably just join us in the factory, because, I mean, if that doesn't work out, what are you going to do? You're not going to have anything. You know, typical parent stuff, especially at that time, where it's like, that's great, you play guitar or sing. That's not going to put food on the table. Come to the factory and stop being stupid. But of course, that's not what they did. And even in the early days, they have talked about they all worked the factory jobs just like their parents did. And they realized just how terrible it was. And, you know, in fact, you've probably heard it a million times before, but that's how Tony Iommi ended up making the Black Sabbath signature sound, was because he lost his fingertips working that factory job. And he ended up making his own little prosthetic fingertips. And that just kind of led into how Black Sabbath came to be and became the icon that they were. On top of Ozzy's vocal work, it was Tony Iommi with the guitar work. Basically, he couldn't feel the strings because he didn't have any of his fingertips. So he was down tuning, which I'm not going to get into a whole explanation. There's plenty of video channels and people that will tell you all musically what that means and all the meanings and yada yada. But he tuned them down, so it made the strings not as tight. All right, there's a simplification for you, so that way when he was pushing them, he could kind of get a better idea of what he was doing. Because he did that, it changed how the guitar sounded. Because like doing something like that was not commonplace. It just wasn't. Whereas now when you look at metal, like down tuning, you got to down tune that beat, bro. Like Black Sabbath were the first ones to really pioneer doing that kind of sound. That combination made all the sounds you hear in Black Sabbath, like, and it spawned this whole thing called heavy metal, which, as I've talked about many a time, is the genre that I live and breathe, because my father did the same thing when he blared Slayer when I was a baby, and instead of crying, I would headbang along. So at an early age, I knew the kind of music that I was into. That's right, you heard it. Fucking Slayer. And Slayer and Metallica and White Zombie. Like, that was my dad. He would play those in car rides. And my little baby ass would just be there like... Like, I was all into it. In fact, fun fact, personal fact. And tell you what, personal fact. My initials are Jam, J-A-M. So because I like to headbang and get down whenever they played metal and rock, my nickname to my whole family was Little Jammer. because I was the one who would air guitar, drum, and just go wild whenever they played stuff when I was little. So, fun fact there. But yeah, so 1948 he's born. He's doing all that as he grows up. 1968, so 20 years later, they formed the band that would be known Black Sabbath. And boy, did they have a reaction. Because again, the kind of sound that they were doing wasn't commonplace, especially in Europe. Like that just wasn't commonplace. And especially that they were singing songs that had to do with the times that were going on. You know, Killing Yourself to Live, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, things like that, where it's these songs about things that they were experiencing, and it became the generational call thing of like, they're calling out the shit that we don't agree with the older generation kind of stuff. Sound familiar? Because that happens a lot in music and whatnot, right? Like, it's just takes that one band that calls out things that people aren't, you know? Anyway, 1970, so 2 years later, we get the first Black Sabbath album. And again, Jesus Christ, like, the world was not ready for what Ozzy was about to do. Black Sabbath continues on for 10 years, and then 1979, unfortunately for Ozzy, the rest of the band decides it's time for you to go. Here's the thing, and you know, for anyone who's never really understood why Ozzy got kicked out when they're doing, you know, farewell show with him, and they've done other shows. Ozzy's always been very open and honest with his life, and that he's always struggled with addiction. So because of that, you know, between the drugs and his massive amounts of drinking, the band kind of got tired of that. You know, you don't show up on time, you're not at rehearsals with a clear head, and we're trying to do shows, and I mean, you're drunk when we're doing anything. Like, this is getting ridiculous. Go get help. You're out of the band. So it's at that point in this, you know, his almost 10-year run with Black Sabbath, he doesn't know what to do with himself. So, you know, he's made a couple songs about it, because at the same time, his first wife divorced him. Like, it was a double hitter for this poor man, where, like, the band that he started that has become a giant phenomenon kicks him out. At the same time, his wife at the time goes, "Oh, you're broke now, and you're also an alcoholic. I'm out of here." So he didn't know how to deal with that. So what do most men do in that situation? I'll be honest, he tried to drink himself to death, right? Because that's just the go-to. Like, all of us guys, we go through a really bad breakup or divorce, and like, that's typically where we immediately go, is just, I'm going to drink it away. And Ozzy has talked about back at that time, for him, it was, I'm just going to drink myself to death because now I have no career. I have nothing. But what does it even matter? Enter Sharon Osbourne. Believe it or not, enter Sharon Osbourne, who picks Ozzy up, knows and sees the talent that Ozzy has, and tells him, this isn't how you're meant to end. You are meant to be something more. You're meant to be a legend. You need to pursue that. And it works. Because in 1980, we got one of the most influential metal albums ever created. Blizzard of Oz, which is Ozzy's first solo album. And really, everyone thought it would fail, because Ozzy was, at the time, known as a disgrace out of Black Sabbath for what had transpired. And really, the music community, like, hearing Ozzy's doing it, just like, yeah, you were great with Black Sabbath, but like, I think you had your time in the sun. I don't think you got it in. I don't see this going well. Like, you're not going to have anything from it. Lo and behold, it explodes because of Randy Rhoads, which, again, if you saw anything from the Black Sabbath farewell show, he shouted out Randy Rhoads. They had a whole segment to him, and that is because Randy also made Ozzy's career. Rhoads is the one who came up with all those catchy guitar riffs in the first two Ozzy solo albums. Like, they were all Randy Rhoads, where he's just this creative kid that Ozzy got introduced to him and fell in love with the kid immediately, because he was just this crazy, energetic dude who was really good at playing, and he had big ideas. And for Ozzy at the time, trying to rebrand himself and bring his career back, someone with that kind of attitude and that kind of ambition, Ozzy saw the potential of like, this is what I need. This is what I need to make this work. And goddamn did it work. Because again, that album revolutionized what metal was doing. And Ozzy became, once again, Ozzy got raised up into the stratosphere by the public. And he has this huge comeback. And he just keeps putting out albums. And I did a whole thing on What an Oddcast when I was talking about history of metal, where I gave a generalization of things that happen. And one of the big things was Randy Rhoads passing away, tragically, in an airplane accident. It's a whole thing. I would suggest go finding the What an Oddcast episode. It was a special I did where I walked the guys through the basics of metal history and big points. And a big point was Randy Rhoads dying, because he was a very unique guitarist who was coming up with riffs and ideas on things that no one else was doing. So when he passed, Ozzy, again, this is just like when he was kicked out of Black Sabbath. He didn't know what to do with himself. He's like, I have an album that I'm still making. I have all these shows. I don't know what to do. Like, Randy was the glue to make all of this work. But much like any legend, he ended up meeting another young up-and-coming guitarist who once again helped revolutionize Ozzy yet again. Like, you think I'm kidding, but I'm really fucking not. Because he ends up meeting Zakk Wylde, who is in his own right now, his own legend. And that's where we got even more fucking guitar riffs, was Zakk Wylde trying to be like Randy Rhoads for Ozzy. And eventually that really led into Ozzy being like, you don't have to be Randy. You're really good at what you do. Be yourself. Like, be who you are, and this will work. And sure enough, it fucking did. Because I don't know if you like noticed from how that show went, the big deal that was hyped up about it. Like, Ozzy exploded again. This is like the mid-'80s. He's once again skyrocketing. So he has a huge music career. Everything's going great. And he just keeps putting out albums that pull people in, even through the 90s. Because, like, I know some of you out there probably know the song No More Tears or Mama, I'm Coming Home. And that came out in the 90s. Like, we're talking 20 years after Sabbath was a thing and made Ozzy a little known. 20 years later, he still makes an album that skyrockets him in the public view of, like, played on all the radios. Everyone wants Ozzy to play their shows. He wanted them to headline. He makes Ozfest in the 90s, which, you know, Ozfest was Ozzy's response to how music festivals were. Because music festivals, as much as Black Sabbath pioneered what heavy metal would become, like, they were the ones who revolutionized that sound, and they ended up making a whole new genre because people didn't know how to classify it. So, like, heavy metal became a thing, but he noticed that all the big festivals, they didn't care about that. They didn't care about his genre. Like, all they cared about was rap, pop, country, things that were considered popular music. Ozzy said, fuck that. Enter an Ozfest, where it was literally his idea to take small upcoming heavy metal bands, like when Black Sabbath was given their shot to make their record and like do shows, and they were given that chance. He was giving the same chance to up and coming metal bands, where he had multiple stages going and all the bands could kind of play intermittently with each other, and you would have things to check out. Ozfest becomes a huge fucking thing because it was a metal festival and nobody was doing that. So Ozzy was the first one to be like, no, this is something for heavy metal. This is where you go. None of the rap, none of the pop, none of the country. Our genre, our way. And it fucking worked. Ozfest was huge. Fuck, man. And it gave us a lot of fucking bands. Like, there are a lot of bands who kind of went to Ozfest and showcased to a bigger audience and became bigger things. A big example, of course, I'm going to mention one of my favorite bands. I don't care if you like them or not. I really don't. Slipknot, who debuted in 1999, who also made a big splash with their first record. And Ozzy was so excited. This man, he was so excited to meet Slipknot because they were 9 guys in masks and jumpsuits and were crazy. And Ozzy fucking loved it. So he contacts them, he puts them on Ozfest in 99, and that helps explode Slipknot into the career that they have now. So really, you look at it, Ozzy has constantly influenced things in that sense. It's helping promote bands and then become up-and-comers, and they end up becoming huge icons in the communities. And he's always been very straightforward to, like, he'll support you. Like, if you're a metal band, you're decent and you're a good person. Like, first off, if you're a shitty person, then you're just a shitty person. No one's going to want to help you. But Ozzy's always very much been that guy. Realizing what the impact he has on things. And he's always tried to use that influence to try to help others and better the community that he started. So, flash forward, right? We were in the 90s. Now it's the turn, right? Now we're in 2000. 2001, 2002. Oh, we have to stop here in 2002? I wonder why. Oh, that's because Ozzy also created a TV genre that, personally, I have to say, Ozzy, it is the worst thing you've ever contributed to pop culture. I'm sorry, Ozzy. I really, truly love you. You are an absolute legend, and I am honored that I've gotten to live in a time where I knew who Ozzy was, and albums were coming out, and like I could experience it for myself. Because, like, when I have kids, or even, like, on Refney's kids who are, they're only 3 and 1 right now, they will never know anything about Ozzy until we show them. It's not going to be something where they hear the name and it's a show or something coming out like we did. It's going to be, like, we show them. And honestly, I'll tell you right now, Orion, his oldest, already kind of into metal. Like, already kind of a metalhead himself. He was really digging Tool. They had there was a lullaby thing, and it was I can't remember. Honestly, I can't remember what Tool song it was, but it was a lullaby melody thing, and he fucking dug the shit out of that. So I'm pretty excited he gets a little bit older. I could start. Uncle Jared can show him the good shit. Just we're gonna show you Black Sabbath. We're gonna show you Ozzy. We're gonna show you this shit, little man. So you prepare. Fucking mark my words. Somebody clip this and save it for 3 years or 5 years from now when he's old enough to fully comprehend it, and I start showing him stuff. Fucking called it. Anyway. 2002. Ozzy gets approached by, of all fucking entities, MTV. Because someone had the idea, man, Ozzy's a huge icon. What if we put a film crew around him and they just documented his everyday life? Enter the Osbournes. Yeah, boy. And I gotta tell you, I rewatched the series in preparation for this episode. Originally I was planning to do a whole episode about Osbournes, which, Jokey Pants Has Bad Taste, I may still cover it there and do an actual The Osbourne show and do a breakdown of things that happen. But fun fact with that, Ozzy has admitted he was basically stoned 100% of the time for that, which is why his behavior is so weird and he does very outlandish things, is because he didn't give a shit. For him, as he put it was stressful that we had cameras on us 24/7, so I just stopped giving a shit. I would just get stoned, and that's how I handled it. My family hated it, so I just got stoned and said, fuck it, I already made the contract. Now, you may be saying, why are the Osbournes important? Why is that important to cover over when you're talking about you love Ozzy and what he's done for pop culture? Because that made reality TV a thing. From there, now we have, how many of them? They fucking Dance Moms, Kardashians, fucking Real Housewives. All of that shit was spawned out because of the Osbournes. Because Ozzy Osbourne was such a big fucking name that the minute they said, we're going to have a film crew follow him all day and you're going to see behind the scenes, his everyday life, blah, blah, blah. It was a fucking huge success. And it spawned a shit ton of other reality TV, which is why MTV, VH1, they've turned away from being music channels into reality TV channels because Ozzy. That's the truth. Please don't smite me, Ozzy. I do love you. I just think that was probably the worst thing you contributed to everyone, and it's unfortunate that that's happened. Oof. But musically, he's an absolute genius. He will go down as a genius. He will always be a legend. And personally, for me, I'm somebody, I will never ever forget Ozzy Osbourne. I'm very sad to see that he's retiring. Only from the fan aspect of I never got to meet Ozzy, and you know what? I'll put it in, and we're gonna say it in the show, and I'm gonna get shamed by some of you, and that's fine. I never got to see Ozzy in concert, and it's really sad to me that I'll never get to experience that for myself. My dad did. My dad's seen him, I think, a couple times, and he's talked about he's a fucking great showman. It's like this is what Ozzy does. He lives and breathes it. And, you may be asking, well, why didn't you if you're such a big fan? Because I grew up poor as shit. I couldn't even afford school lunches, okay? I was poor as shit. I had nice things, but we were poor as shit. And very white trashy. So, if I'm going to be totally honest with you, much like I talk on Oddcast, I kind of hate how I grew up because I grew up really, really shitty in many different ways. And that's something I'll talk about at a later time over on Patreon. I'm still working up the courage to try to delve into all that because it's going to be an uncomfortable series I do. It's going to get real uncomfortable. But enough about that. This is about Ozzy. And I also love Ozzy for the fact he's multi-generational. To explain that for my own sense, I've always been into metal, but it's really only me and my dad that are super metal heads. He's the one who got me into Gojira and showed me Slipknot, Mastodon, Lamb of God. He's the one who showed me everything that I ended up getting into musically. And Ozzy Osbourne was an artist that my grandparents liked him. My great uncles liked him. Everyone that was older than me loved Ozzy as well. And I could play Ozzy in Black Sabbath and nobody would be like, oh, shut that shit off. That's garbage. Oh, it's just sound. But I didn't get that response with Ozzy. And it made me love Ozzy even more growing up because it was something I could bond with my older family members. And if we were playing music, I could play Ozzy and nobody was going to hate it. And that felt great because I also really loved Ozzy. So it gave me some bonding moments with them musically. And I will always appreciate that. So really just to end this out, honestly, this is me personally, Ozzy. I absolutely love you. I love everything you did for music, and I am overly, overly honored and grateful that I was able to be alive in a time where I know who you are, and I know the accomplishments you made and what you did for the things that I now enjoy myself, and my kids will enjoy, and my nieces and nephews, everybody. I wish you nothing but the best, and I hate that you got dealt a shitty hand by life in the end here, and it's unfortunate that he has Parkinson's. He also had a surgery that didn't help him in the way he was hoping it was going to, and it kind of made things worse for him. And it's unfortunate because Ozzy has talked about, God, for as long as I can think of, from anything I've seen in interviews, that he has always said he wanted to die on stage. That would be the ultimate ending for him because music is all he's ever known. And it showcases with everything I just covered. From the time he was out on his own at 18 making a band, and then at 20 having a record, and then getting a giant cultural phenomenon band, and then having a solo career 10 years after that. So before he's even 40 years old, having a solo career that's exploding for him. I get it that you're the MVP, the GOAT, as they say. You really are, and you always will be, because no matter how good musicians are now, nobody has come close to doing the achievements that you have. And I think that's something that, regardless when it is your time, I tell you right now, I will be crying like a baby when and if Ozzy passes away, because I have a hope in my mind that whatever there is, because I'm not super religious, but whatever God that you believe in, I hope that they spare Ozzy and are just like, you know what? No. And I'll be sad when Ozzy passes. And I hope that he gets spared. But I also got to say, let's be honest, the afterlife's going to be the most kick-ass fucking party ever. You're going to have Ozzy, you're going to have Dio, you're going to have Lemmy. There's just so many good fucking people that are going to be over there. And it's just, I hope there's something at the end of life, like an afterlife that we go to, because I want to party with all those guys. Like, hands down, I want to party with every single one of them. I wish I had a time machine to go back and party with them back in the day. I don't even care. I'm not even like a party dude. Like, I typically don't go to parties, and I mean, and when I do, I get, I'm a fun guy when I do. I just don't like it. But I would make an exception for that, and I would party the hardiest I've ever partied. So honestly, again, from the deepest part of my heart, Ozzy, I love you. I appreciate everything you did, and I really hope that you have a peace of mind with what you do have left. And love your family, man. Love your family, and you've done more than anyone could ever hope to, man. You did it. You will go down as an absolute legend. And even if people try to argue that, you're going to have to come through me to argue that point. But stay happy. I'll see you whenever I do another video. Bye, guys.